Welcome to Fun Facts Online. Today, we're diving into a world of intrigue that rivals any human political thriller, a world of deception, mind control, and regicide. But this drama doesn't unfold in a palace. It happens right under our feet, within the intricate societies of ants. These colonies, renowned for their cooperation, are also the stage for a dark and fascinating phenomenon: parasitic social engineering, where cunning interlopers seize power not through force alone, but by manipulating the very fabric of their host societies. Let's start with one of nature's most gruesome horror stories, the zombie ant fungus, known to science as Ophiocordyceps unilateralis. This parasite primarily targets carpenter ants in tropical forests. The horror begins when a foraging ant comes into contact with a single fungal spore on the forest floor. That's all it takes. Using a combination of enzymes and mechanical pressure, the spore drills through the ant's tough exoskeleton. Once inside, the fungus begins to proliferate, spreading its cells throughout the ant's body and feeding on its internal tissues. For about 16 to 24 days, the fungus grows within the ant, which appears mostly normal to its colony mates. It's a ticking time bomb. When the fungus reaches a critical mass, it triggers a startling change in the host's behavior. The infected ant, now under the complete control of its fungal puppeteer, abandons its nest and its typical foraging trails. It moves erratically, suffering from convulsions as the fungus directly manipulates its muscles and movements. The ant is then compelled to climb a plant, a behavior entirely alien to its normal routine. The fungus isn't just making it climb randomly. It directs the ant to a very specific location, usually the underside of a leaf, that has the ideal temperature and humidity for the fungus' own growth and reproduction. In a final macabre act, the fungus forces the ant to clamp its mandibles onto a leaf vein in a death grip. This grip is so powerful that the ant remains attached to the leaf even after it dies. With the ant secured, the fungus consumes the rest of its insides, and then a stalk-like structure, called a stroma, erupts from the back of the dead ant's head. This stalk eventually releases a new batch of infectious spores onto the forest floor below, creating what scientists call a sniper's alley, through which other unsuspecting ants must pass. This strategic positioning ensures a continuous supply of new hosts. Of course, ants aren't helpless victims. Some species have evolved defense mechanisms, like practicing social grooming to remove spores from each other's bodies. They've even been observed carrying infected individuals far away from the colony to prevent the spread of the fungus, a form of social quarantine. While the fungus controls a single ant for its own ends, some parasitic ants have evolved to exploit the entire social structure of other colonies. This practice is known as slave-making, or doulosis. Slave-making ants are brood parasites. They raid the nests of other ant species, but not for food. They steal the host's larvae and pupae to increase the workforce of their own colony. The stolen brood, after emerging in the slave-maker's nest, work as if they were in their own home, performing tasks like foraging, nest maintenance, and even caring for the slave maker's own young. There are facultative slave makers who can survive on their own but raid to supplement their workforce. And then there are the obligate slave makers who are so specialized they are entirely dependent on their enslaved workers. A prime example of these obligate slave makers is the genus Polyergus, also known as Amazon ants. These ants are formidable warriors. They have sleek, shiny exoskeletons that deflect the bites of their victims, and large, sickle-shaped mandibles designed for one purpose: piercing the heads of defending worker ants. However, these same mandibles render them incapable of feeding themselves or caring for their own young. The life of a Polyergus colony is a relentless cycle of raids. It begins with scouts who search for the nests of their host species, typically ants of the genus Formica. Once a suitable nest is found, the scout returns and recruits a raiding party. The ensuing raid is a swift and brutal affair. The Polyergus workers storm the host nest, overwhelming the defenders and seizing their pupae. They then carry the stolen brood back to their own nest, where the emerging Formica workers will become imprinted with the slave-making colony's scent and serve their new masters for the rest of their lives. The establishment of a new Polyergus colony is even more audacious. A newly mated queen cannot found a colony on her own. Her only option is to infiltrate a Formica nest, kill the resident queen, and trick the workers into accepting her. She may use a repellent chemical to subdue the workers while she hunts down their mother. After dispatching the host queen, a remarkable transformation occurs. The Formica workers begin to groom the usurper. It's theorized that the Polyergus queen acquires the host queen's scent by killing and licking her, a chemical heist that completes her takeover. Not all social parasites resort to such violent raids. Some have adopted a more subtle yet equally effective strategy known as inquilinism, or the cuckoo strategy, named after the parasitic birds. Inquilin ants are permanent social parasites that live within the colonies of their hosts. The most extreme examples are workerless inquilines, species that have completely lost the worker caste and consist only of queens and males. One of the most bizarre is Tetramorium inquilinum, which has been dubbed the ultimate parasitic ant. This tiny European species is an ectoparasite, meaning it spends most of its adult life clinging to the body of its host queen. The parasitic queen is a master of chemical deception. She constantly emits chemical signals that mimic those of the host colony, tricking the host workers into accepting her as one of their own. The host ants feed and care for the parasitic queen and her offspring, which, again, consist only of new queens and males destined to find other colonies to parasitize. The parasitic queen's body is highly adapted to this lifestyle. She has a curved body and strong claws for clinging to her host, but her mouth parts are too weak to eat anything but regurgitated liquid food provided by the host workers. Her brain is small and simple, and she lacks the glands needed to feed her own young or produce defensive chemicals. She is a reproductive machine, utterly dependent on her hosts. Then there's temporary social parasitism, which is seen as an evolutionary stepping stone. Here, a newly mated parasitic queen infiltrates a host nest, kills the resident queen, and uses the host's workforce to raise her own initial brood. As the host workers gradually die off from old age, they are replaced by the offspring of the parasitic queen, and the colony eventually becomes a pure colony of the parasitic species. A fascinating case is the jet black ant, Lasius fuliginosus. Its queen can't start her own colony. Instead, she seeks out a nest of another species, Lasius umbratus, kills its queen, and takes over. But what makes this incredible is that Lasius umbratus is itself a temporary social parasite, typically taking over the nests of the common black ant, Lasius niger. This makes Lasius fuliginosus a hyperparasite, a parasite of a parasite. It's a multi-layered takeover that highlights the complex evolutionary pathways in the ant world. Underlying all these strategies is the art of deception, primarily through chemical mimicry. Ants live in a world of odors, using a complex cocktail of chemicals on their bodies, called cuticular hydrocarbons, to recognize nestmates and identify intruders. Social parasites have evolved a variety of ways to crack this chemical code. Some parasites actively synthesize the host's recognition pheromones. Others use a strategy called chemical camouflage. For example, the so-called shampoo ant will capture a host worker, lick it to acquire its colony-specific scent, and then transfer that scent to its own body before attempting to infiltrate the nest. Recently, an even more insidious form of chemical manipulation was discovered in parasitic ants of the genus Lasius. The parasitic queen, after infiltrating a host nest, does not kill the resident queen herself. Instead, she sprays the host queen with a chemical, believed to be formic acid. This chemical spray acts as a deceptive social signal. It causes the host workers to perceive their own mother as an enemy intruder, and they attack her. The worker ants are thus manipulated into committing matricide, killing their own queen. The parasitic queen can then retreat, wait for the chaos to die down, and return to lay her eggs, which will be cared for by the now orphaned workforce. The relationship between social parasites and their hosts is a classic example of an evolutionary arms race. As parasites evolve more sophisticated methods of deception, hosts evolve counter-defenses, like more discerning recognition systems or aggressive responses to intruders. The evolution of social parasitism itself has fascinated biologists since Charles Darwin. It appears that the loss of the ability for a queen to found her own colony is a key first step on this evolutionary path. From there, some species may have evolved into slave makers, while others became permanent, workerless inquilins. The fact that this has evolved independently at least 60 times in ants speaks to its incredible success as a life strategy. The world of parasitic social engineering in ants is a testament to the relentless and often bizarre creativity of evolution. It's a world where the lines between friend and foe are blurred by chemical warfare, where workers are turned against their own queen, and where entire colonies are hijacked for the benefit of a parasitic elite. By studying these master manipulators, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity of ant societies and the vulnerabilities that exist within even the most organized systems. The next time you see an ant, consider the unseen dramas playing out beneath your feet, a world of intrigue and manipulation that proves that in the grand pageant of life, success can be achieved not just through strength, but through cunning and deception.